Problem, solution. Right, let's work through it. Now, online you can buy bushes, aftermarket bushes for your Land Rover. And this is them here, alright? Simple, nice little bushes, alright? Now, the problem is, and this is really where the issue comes about, is that Rocky Mountain use a different size. So the bushes, the aftermarket Land Rover bushes, are no good, right? This is them here. Basically, they're too loose, alright? They're no good. So, I need to find a solution to this. I went online. The company Nolathane doesn't actually have a solution that I could use. However, White Line do. So, W72256 is the number on their website. Easy enough to find. And the way I found it was their website is brilliant. They give sizing of all the bushes, width, diameter, etc. All of the sizes that you would have. And you're left with this. Okay? Tube in the centre, a bush that is actually a nice, let's show you here, a nice, tight press fit with a nice little flange and a little tube. Let's do the tube a little bit better. And a little tube that fits in the centre, and that is called a crush tube. So basically, the shackle can push against this tube, and we get a nice little spacing. Works really, really good. So we're going to go through and fit this to this vehicle, to our Land Rover. And we're going to show you an alternative if you're let down by the Rocky Mountain Company. Shackles are unbolted, so that's going to allow us to get to these bushes and get them out. Now the problem is, these bushes are really bad. Right? I'm not going to hold back here, they are really bad. They're absolutely stuffed. I'm going to give you an explanation here and show you what a good one should look like, so you know, and what mine looked like. Bear in mind these have already been replaced once before, and now I've got this. Alright, well in front of me at the moment is an example of a good bush. It's not actually the spring bush, it looks very, very much like it, but for you sticklers that will pick me up on it, this is actually a chassis bush out of the Land Rover, but it is exactly the same principle and construction as the spring bush. So what you can see here is you can see a really stiff rubber here with the part glued into it. The bush in the centre is glued in. So this outer part gets pressed into the spring, and the bolt goes to the centre here and does it nice and tight. It stops it moving, the spring moving sideways, and it stops it moving up and down. That's what it's there for, and it gives it some tension. Here's my one. Alright, looks okay, right, doesn't look too bad, until you press the end of it and realise that the whole metal part comes right out and can move. Right, the issue we have here is this. This is the shackle, okay? So, top bolt through the chassis up here, bottom bolt through the spring. Now what I've done is I've just put the new bush system on here so you can see what I'm doing. So there's the new bush. Now these bushes work differently. They work very differently to the rubber metal bush that the Land Rover originally has. The reason for that is the bush in the Land Rover allows for sideways torsion strength. The rubber in it and the way the system is pressed in means that the spring can't move sideways because of the glued construction of the bush. These ones don't work like that. These little bushes here use this little flange on the side by pressing against the side of the shackle plate, which is here. So they press on that side, and that's how they get their sideways torsion strength. In other words, they stop the spring from slipping sideways, basically. So I have to alter these shackles to suit, because you'll notice here we have a large bush. The reason is that's the width of the chassis here, and this is a step down bush. In this system, the old system, it doesn't matter. They just put a bush on here and it sits against that metal bush of the little the bush itself, the metal pin of the bush. Here it doesn't work, because you'll notice here the spring will be sitting on the top part of this bush, and it will just drop off the side. It'll just push it off. So if you are to replace your front springs, even with your old original Land Rover, if you have an original spring set on your Land Rover and you use this nylon polythene type bush system, then you need to alter your front spring hangers without a doubt. So what I've found is I've found a plumbing flange plate. The hole is almost the right size to slide over here, and as you can tell, it's got a nice big flat front on it, and I've drawn a circle on there, and that circle is actually the size of that, so I can cut it down to make it fit. What it does is that'll slide over, and I'll weld it on the shackle here, and what will happen is this plate will create a nice flat surface, which is what you'd see on normal shackles. Normal shackles look basically like that. They have the plate on the side, so the bush will happily sit against each side. No issues. Alright, well the job's done, bushes are in, a lot of work. All I needed was the original bushes, happy to pay for them from the manufacturer. Not going to happen, we can't leave it like that, so I've had to recreate and manufacture these shackles to suit these new bushes, otherwise they wouldn't have worked. So let me show you what I've done. Right, so here is the end result. So there was a spacer sitting in here in this part. Now there is a large flange sitting here. My fingernail is just sitting on top of the new flange. Right behind that you can see the black bush all sort of squashed in there, which is the way it should be. It needs to actually be held on the outside. Before it had a spacer, these bushes do not work with the spacer system. So if anyone installs the nylon bushes or polythene type bush system in their Series Land Rover on the front here, then it will not work unless you alter the system. On this side here, it actually had a little spacer sitting here as well, and I altered that, and it now has two big flat plates welded together just for thickness. So everything is the exact same thickness as it was. It works perfectly. It's all been measured up perfectly and verniered up to make sure that the bushes have the exact amount of distance in them. Everything's the way it should be. The spring bushes are in, and the only real way to see if they're any good is to drive the damn thing. So let's give it a go. Alright, time for a test drive. Right, well the spring bushes are in. Tested them out now. Driving exceptionally well, no banging, really soft actually in the front, so obviously that metal to metal contact without the rubber in there, those bushes, was certainly making the ride harder. So the new bushes are doing their job. So far, a few thousand Ks is going to tell me whether they're working or not. I'm going to look for some other rear springs. The front ones, I have a spare set for that. I have to look for a second set of rear parabolic springs from another company. I have to pay for them. I have to buy other springs because the company I got my set off can't or won't supply anything to me. I'm happy to pay. I already paid. Hey, you work it out. Is it a good company to deal with? I don't think so. Alright, till next time guys.